when my brain tumor came back as an inch, the first song that came on was Angels Watching Over Me by Amy Grant. I was like, oh my gosh, bring me to tears now. God uses those little things to just still show that he's always with us. He's good. He's never going to leave us or forsake us.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Drawn by Grace podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Roberts, and I'm so glad you're here today because we get to hear from Virginia Holman. Virginia has worked at Family Talk with James Dobson and Focus on the Family as an audio editor, and she's now the wife and mom of 2. Something that really stands out to me about Virginia is her thoughtfulness. She's the kind of person who will ask if you need something from Starbucks when you've had a rough day. And so I'm just excited to get to the heart behind all that and talk about her story, some really significant health struggles, grief, loss, and the goodness of God. So thanks for being here with me. And whether it's joy or awe or perspective, I hope this story changes you today. So Virginia, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so excited you're here. I know it's been a whole journey to get to today. Right. Sickness and migraines and surgery and multiple reschedules, but we're here. And I'm so glad you're here. And I think your story is really gonna equip and empower and encourage people. So I'm so excited to get into it. But before we get into all of that, could you tell us just a little bit about the backstory? So what was growing up like for you?
Yeah, so I grew up in New York on Long Island. I'm not a Colorado native. I have lived here for, I think, 17 years now. But yeah, I grew up with 3 older sisters and then my mom and stepdad. I did see my biological dad every other weekend growing up too. But yeah, my sister Liz was the one I probably spent the most time with in our family growing up because we were closest in age. Liz was the one who helped encourage me, lead me to the Lord. She asked, as far as I remember, she asked if I wanted to ask Jesus into my heart when I was 7 years old. And I said yes. And so then we prayed in the backyard and prayed, the sinner's prayer and asked Jesus into my heart that day. So that was like cool that I still have that memory of like praying with her.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yep.
So where'd your foundation of faith come from? Was that from your family and from your sister?
Yeah, like I said, we went to church like consistently. We also went to a little private Christian school, so
okay,
I was kind of like in Christian bubble.
Yeah.
Kind of surrounded by it.
Cool.
And then when I was in 5th grade, right after 5th grade, I went to VBS. At the church we were at the time, and that's when I just felt like the Holy Spirit was like working in me and convicting me of like my sin a little bit more and like just understanding maybe like repentance a little bit better. And so then I asked my mom that night if I could like rededicate myself to the Lord. So then she and I prayed together, and so
that's so cool, just how God was working in your heart, even from such a young age.
Right.
So you grew this foundation in faith as a child. How did that morph or grow as you got older? What did that look like for you?
So in high school, I felt like my faith was still pretty consistent. And I was in a homeschool group. So again, I was still kind of in like Christian bubble that way. And then going to church on Sunday. But I think in college, even though I went to a Christian university, there was like one class in particular that was kind of testing my faith, I feel like, because the professor was a theistic evolutionist. And so like to me, it was like kind of, what is all this about? This doesn't seem to line up with like what I learned growing up. So then that's when I really like wrestled with creation and like my faith and like, is this faith my own, or is it just like because this is how I grew up, So I do think I struggled in college, but hopefully in the end it was a good struggle. It just was like kind of confusing for me.
Right.
Like, because I am in a Christian university, but then I'm being taught some things that just didn't line up with what I believed. So I definitely had some like wrestling with my faith in college, but then coming out on the other end, like, yes, I do believe in all of this, and Jesus is my savior, and he did create the world. We did not evolve from something, all of that.
Right. But still challenged to figure out, okay, what do I believe because that's what I was taught, and what do I believe because it's true?
Right.
Or what do I believe because it's what Scripture says?
Right. Because I think my initial thought was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this professor's teaching this. But then I think I dug a little deeper, like, why do I believe what I believe then, you know?
Yeah.
And I can't remember all the details, but I'm guessing I probably did like look back at the creation story in the Bible and just maybe doing some research and stuff, and like just making sure this is what I personally believe, and not just not just my parents, or not just my siblings, or just, you know, because that's what is expected of me at a Christian university. So
yeah, that's good. So yeah, I love how God was working in your story just from such a young age, you know, showing you who he was, so that when you got older and you experienced trials, you were rooted in him. So I know one of those trials was health related. Could you talk about that a little? Just the diagnosis, surgery, what was all of that like for you?
Yeah, so when I was 24, I was dealing with just kind of some weird symptoms. I just felt like sometimes the room felt like it was spinning a little bit, and just kind of spacing out a little. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but that's the best way I can think to describe it. Yeah. I'd be in the kitchen at Chick-fil-A where I worked at the time, and just like, what is the matter with me? Like, what is going on? Like, I remember having a few of those episodes there at work. And then I was just thinking like, well, everyone's going to think I'm nuts if I mention this to someone. They're going to be like, what is wrong with you? So I was like also kind of worried, I think, about people's response, which I know I shouldn't. I should have just been more concerned about my health, but I just thought everyone's gonna think I'm crazy. So if I tell them about this, because I didn't know anything about like what these symptoms could possibly be. So unfortunately, because I kind of just put it off to the side, I ended up having a grand mal seizure when I was on a hike like heading up to Hanging Lake with some friends at the time. And I just remember feeling really confused right before, kind of like voices in my head kind of thing, which was kind of strange. And then waking up and being confused after the seizure, like, where's everyone else? But it was because I just had no memory of what had just happened. Wow. So, so then we did go to a hospital right after that, but unfortunately the ER doctor was not like as concerned as maybe I was hoping he'd be. He didn't tell me to like go get an MRI right away, and I was like in between health insurances, so I was waiting for like my next health insurance, I think, to like kick in or something, you know. Gosh. And so it was weird timing that way too. But thankfully, like, even though, you know, he said, oh, this happens to people your age sometimes, which I'm thinking it does. Like, I wasn't going to just ignore it at that point. So once the insurance kicked in, I went and saw my doctor, and I was like, what's going on here? And so then he's like, oh, we need to get an MRI right away. I don't know why that other doctor didn't have you get an MRI. Right. Yeah. So, and then the doctor himself called me, and that's when I was like, oh, what's going on? And so then he told me that I had a tumor outside of my brain that was in between golf ball, baseball size. And so it was like pushing against my brain. And I mean, I was just kind of in shock at that point, and like, how do I respond to this? Like,
Right.
I mean, I probably should have just prayed right away, but when you're in shock, you're just like, okay, now what,
Oh, for sure.
So, yeah.
So what did it look like for you to process that news?
So I did call my family members. I tell this story sometimes. Nobody picked up.
Oh my gosh.
Just that part alone was a little hard at first, but I mean, they were all just busy with their lives. It wasn't their fault. It just was like, well, just was unfortunate that nobody picked up. But yeah, then my mom, came down pretty quick to be with me. But I think even before my mom came down, my biological dad and I had reconnected, like, I think a day or two before my seizure happened.
Wow.
And so he like hopped on a plane pretty quick to come down, or to come to Colorado to meet me at one of the hospitals that I went to see if that's where I wanted to get brain surgery done.
Okay.
And then my mom came down from Seattle, and then we kind of all like worked together to try to figure out a plan type thing. So,
Okay.
But then we decided, let's try Seattle. And unfortunately, at that hospital up there, they were demanding, like, I shouldn't say demanding, but it felt a little that way, like $200,000 up front for the surgery, and said it was going to be like a 13-hour surgery and all of that. So it just seemed like, is this the best route? When they're expecting all this money and telling me it's going to be like basically an all-day surgery.
Right.
So, yeah, that's what made it kind of hard. Just knowing okay, God, what do we do? Like, where do we get this done? And who's going to, like, really know what they're doing? Because this is my brain we're talking about.
Right.
So
this isn't just like wisdom teeth surgery.
Right. So then my dad had a connection with somebody at Duke University, because like somebody on the board of the school that he worked at, I believe, they were like friends with this neurosurgeon at Duke University. So I feel like God definitely like worked through all that by making that connection, like having like, okay, this is where you're gonna have surgery. And like everything was, I felt like, falling into place once we decided to go that route, and heard really great things about this neurosurgeon, like one of the best in the country, maybe I don't know about in the world, but at least in the country. So
that's awesome.
That was reassuring.
For sure.
And so, yeah, we went ahead and went through with having surgery there in North Carolina, and I was the one having surgery, not we. But yeah, some of my family was able to be there with me, and just kind of, be there for pre-surgery, during, post-surgery. Yeah. So.
Cool.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So what did actually going into surgery look like for you? Like, what was that experience like?
Yeah, so, like, I remember the night before surgery being pretty nervous and kind of scared, I'm getting my brain operated on.
Right. Naturally.
Right. So I was feeling anxious for sure, but I was listening to Stephen Curtis Chapman's song, Be Still and Know That I Am God, the night before. So that was really like a helpful song, because I like that passage of scripture too, in Psalm 46. So yeah, that helped like give me peace. And I guess so my dad told me that he was like sleeping in a chair in my room that night or something to like be with me. It's kind of a blur, but I guess that's what happened. Cool. And so I definitely had like support and stuff going into all of it.
Awesome.
The love and support from my family. So yeah, that was cool. And then the day of, I also felt nervous, like for good reason, but I have told people that God just like gave me this peace, that peace that passes all understanding. And once I was kind of getting wheeled back there, like he just gave me peace, because I knew, like, well, if I don't make it through, I'll be in heaven, and that's great too. Like, you know, that's even better, honestly. So, so just like that, God was able to kind of give me that perspective too, instead of just being like, oh my goodness, what's gonna happen? Like, yes, I had some fears, I was anxious, but just how cool that God gave me that peace in the midst of a crazy surgery that was about to happen. So, yeah.
That's awesome. So what do you think was the hardest part about all of that for you?
Probably the unknowns, you know, like they told me before surgery all the things that could go wrong. Like, it's not very comforting, but I guess they have to do that. So they're like, you might have double vision, you might, you know, I don't know if they said you might not be able to walk again, but, you know, just like, you might just have, because it's your brain, like, it's just helping kind of control the rest of your body. And so, and one of them was you might die. So it's like, okay, thanks for letting me know all the great things that could happen to me. So that part was challenging, because it was like, I don't want to hear all the things that could happen to me, but I guess I need to know all this, you know. And there might have even been stuff I never knew about to this day that my mom and dad too probably like sheltered me from, you know, because they knew I had enough on my plate. So, and then when I came out of surgery, I said, well, I'm still here. I looked at my mom and sister Annie, and, well, I'm still here.
That's so great. Okay, so I love that, because, that really speaks to, I think, the fact that you were really wrestling with, like, maybe I won't make it out of this. But it also, I feel like your natural response to that should be like this sigh of relief, like, I'm still alive. But how casually you said that, like, really speaks to the peace that God, like, washed over you during that time, you know? So I love that. It's amazing. So how did your relationship with God change in that season? Did you grow closer to God, further away from him? What did that look like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say for the most part, it grew closer to the Lord. I will admit, like, the recovery was a little rough, because, you know, I had the staples in my head that I had to get out, and just really weak afterwards, very low energy. I remember just walking, you know, a couple of feet was like a big job for the first, I'd say, at least 10 days. But yeah, I do remember like that really low energy. Like, oh my goodness, the nurse is asking me to like walk around the hall right now, like a day after having surgery. Like, okay, here we go. So that part was tough. And then I couldn't drive. I wasn't allowed to drive for 6 weeks. So that was also a little challenging. I was getting the cabin fever, and
I bet,
just wanting to get back to working at Chick-fil-A.
I bet.
So yeah, that part was challenging, but then I do feel like by going through all that did bring me closer to the Lord, and like, okay, where's all my strength coming from, and who's even giving me the energy, and who's helping me to heal? It's the Lord. Like, God's the one that's the ultimate healer. You know, I wouldn't have been able to get through any of that without him. So, like, that helped me and just being able to share like the story to my Bible study at the time and other groups, just about how God worked in and through the surgery. And then also like I think it was right before Christmas. So probably near this time, back in 2009, so a little while ago, but I had like I thought it was a bill that came in the mail, and I opened it up and it said like my $100,000 bill was excused. Wow. Because I had like filled out this Duke hardship program form or whatever it was called, and it was, the whole bill was excused. So I'm like, well, that's a pretty nice Christmas present.
Yeah.
That I don't have to come up with $100,000 somewhere.
Wow, that's awesome. That's so awesome.
Right.
And just like how God orchestrated all that too. Like you connect with your dad, you said a day or two before your seizure?
I'm pretty sure it was like in early July or something.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's just so cool. And how because of your dad, you get connected to this renowned neurosurgeon.
Right.
And end up at this, in this random city across the country at Duke. And because of that, you end up in this crazy loan forgiveness program. I think that's so cool.
Right. Yeah. Just the little and big things that God like used to work everything out through kind of a very difficult situation.
Right.
So,
right. For sure.
yeah.
So how do you see God working in that season of your life?
So yeah, I mean, just growing me in my faith and like who I'm, reminding me of like who to be relying on, like whether it's a good day or a bad day, like just relying on him, finding my hope in him, not just looking to myself. And at that point, it's like, yeah, I clearly am not going to be able to do life on my own. Like I need the Lord because I just walked through an incredibly difficult season, and now, like that was just a huge reminder of like, where am I finding my hope, my strength, all of it is in the Lord, and that I can't live another day without him. So it was just, I don't know if a wake-up call is the right word, but it was like at least a good reminder, a pretty big reminder, of who I need to be relying on. Like good. I said, in the good days and the bad days. So
that's good.
Yeah.
So I know grief and loss has been a big part of your story too. Could you tell us your story when it comes to grief and loss?
Yeah. So just a little over 2 years later, my mom was not like, she was having trouble breathing and having like heart palpitations and all these things when she came to visit me for, I think, Thanksgiving. And so she had some tests done, and sadly she was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. So that was pretty hard obviously for her to hear, and then for my sisters and me to hear. Yeah. Because we just weren't expecting it at all, My mom might have had some sort of idea that something was going on, but I think she was a little scared to be rushing to the doctor for it, which I can kind of understand. Like sometimes we think, oh, it's not really anything, and then we don't want to deal with the truth of what it actually is. So, so yeah, that was a hard Christmas and everything, because it was, like I said, I think it was, might have even been Thanksgiving morning. I'm not positive, but it was sometime around then that it first started to happen, and then her getting the tests. That was in 2011, and she did chemo, and then she would take like breaks from chemo after like doing all the rounds of chemo she needed to do. And she actually lived in Colorado for, I think it was from 2014 to 2016. So it was about 2 years.
Okay.
But she was kind of in and out. She actually was able to do some mission trips because she was taking a break from the chemo during those times when she'd do the mission trips. Yeah. Because she just wanted, at that point, like, I think she just wanted to live her life fully. She wanted to, just do the Lord's work, ministering to, all these people in different countries, and she wanted to see the world too. I'm pretty sure, like, just wanted to do some adventures and exploring. So so that was kind of cool to like see another side of her that I hadn't really seen as much growing up. where she was just up for kind of, like doing a little more stuff that she wouldn't have maybe normally done back when I was growing up as a little girl kind of thing. So
yeah.
And just kind of all in, like, let's just live life to the fullest now, because like, I don't know how much time I have left kind of thing.
Great. Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So she continued to battle cancer, after she moved back to Seattle in 2016. So then I would go visit her. I went Mother's Day of 2018, which I was really glad I did that. Yeah. But yeah, Christmas was kind of our special holiday that we celebrated together when I was an adult. I tried to go up there almost every Christmas I could, both before getting married and then after as well. Like, I just try to make it up there sometime around Christmas. Yeah. So yeah, it's a little bit of a hard season sometimes at Christmas in that regard, because then it makes me think of my mom and that, I'd be getting ready to go to Seattle to see her kind of thing.
For sure, yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. As your mom's going through all of that, what was that season like for you?
I think some of the time I honestly was in denial. I was like, well, she seems like she's getting her energy back, or, during the harder times, like, well, I know she's having a hard time right now with chemo, but she'll get better again, I think it was just hard for me to like face the reality some of the time. But then, I would still, like, especially when she was in Colorado, I would go and like see her while she was getting the chemo done, and I would just take some extra time off to go be with her in the hospital. And my sister Katie was, like, she had 3 little kids at the time, but she was also doing a lot of that as well. So between the 2 of us sisters, we were trying to be there for my mom as much as we could. But, we also had our own lives. So it was like a lot, juggling it all and trying to know how much to be there for her and when she needed to just rest. Because, chemo makes you really tired. And so a lot of the times she just needed to rest in between chemo sessions and stuff. So, yeah. But, yeah, I mean, I did what I could to be there for her, but I do think during, like, maybe even almost 7 years of that diagnosis, I probably was a little bit in denial, too, because I just didn't want to face the reality.
Right.
Of it all.
I think that's so natural, and you don't want to lose out on time with your mom because you're mourning, but she's still with you.
Right.
So I think that makes a lot of sense.
Right.
So what do you think? What was the hardest part of that whole season for you?
Probably when I would see my mom, like, in her lowest kind of times when she was not doing very well. Because sometimes I didn't quite know how to be there for her. Do I just, like, sit with her, which I would some of the time, or do I just let her rest? Just trying to kind of navigate, how much do I be there for her? How much do I not? How much do I call her if she was, like, in Seattle? And see how she's doing. I mean, I did my best, I think, to check in on her a decent amount, but as I mentioned, she would just be kind of tired some of the time if she was doing chemo.
Right.
But if she wasn't, then, like I said, she sometimes would be off on these mission trips, which was fun to see how excited and alive she would be during those times. And just, telling, busy wanting to tell others about Jesus. So, but yeah, I mean, obviously the hardest was the day she passed away, because even then I was kind of in denial. She was in hospice at that time, but I just was holding on to this hope, like, well, even when you're in hospice, there's a chance you could come out of hospice.
Right.
So yeah, the day she passed away was obviously the hardest, day of all of it. And I had just had my son 2 weeks before, so I was pretty busy with a newborn and figuring out all the ropes of what it's like to be a mom and getting some sleep if I could, and
right.
feeding my baby and, taking care of him and just figuring it all out.
Right.
And yeah, I just remember I kept heating up this pot pie that someone had given me. When you have a baby, usually your church community comes around and brings meals. So it was one of the leftovers that I was heating up, and I just kept reheating it, like while I was talking on the phone with the hospice lady, because I was just in denial, because she told me that my mom had just had a pulmonary embolism and she was, still alive, but do you want to talk to your mom? And I just thought, yes, of course I'm going to talk to my mom, but I just, in my mind, was still kind of denying, this is not the end, she'll get through this. Even though maybe that sounds terrible, but I just still think I was denying what was really happening,
Yeah.
I didn't want to face it. So unfortunately my mom wasn't able to talk to me at that point because she was having trouble breathing and everything. But I knew that she didn't want to, I knew with her last wishes, I don't think she wanted to be rushed to the hospital or anything, because she already knew that she was not going to do any more chemo, and she would her body was pretty worn out and exhausted from everything. So she was just kind of past doing all the treatment and stuff. So, but I'm still glad that I could talk to her one last time on the phone, even though she couldn't respond back at that point. So,
yeah.
That obviously was a very hard day, and I was just frantically calling my sisters to see if they wanted to say any last words to her, which only one of my three sisters were able to talk to her, but it still was I knew that's what I wanted to do and needed to do. So I'm glad I was able to say a few last words and at least hold on to the hope that I know where she was going. It wasn't this is the end forever,
Yeah.
just holding on to that hope of heaven and knowing that she's very much alive in heaven now. And I just picture her painting up there and just doing her art and praising the Lord and just doing all those things that she loved to do, but now in heaven.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. We don't grieve as those who have no hope.
Right.
So what was that like for you, losing your mom and also becoming a new mom at the same time? What was that like for you emotionally, mentally, physically? Because that's a lot.
Right. It was a lot. I was kind of this is really happening right now. Okay, God, I guess we're doing this. But yeah, I just, because as a new mom, you're so busy with your newborn, trying to keep them alive and all these things. I just had to kind of grieve while I was with my son at night. And he liked this exercise ball. He liked to be bounced on this exercise ball more than being rocked in the rocking chair, which I know his personality now, so it makes sense. But at the time, it's okay, we're going to just be bouncing him for a while on this exercise ball. And that's what's going to eventually get him to sleep.
Yeah.
But that's where I have a lot of memories of just crying my eyes out and just, grieving the loss of my mom. I'd be singing songs to my son that my mom used to sing to me when I was a little girl. And so that probably was making it even harder in some ways, but it was also helpful and therapeutic for me to do that. And just letting out all those tears and yes, this is not the most convenient time to be crying away, but when is the most convenient time to grieve? Probably never.
Right.
So that's when I remember doing it the most, was during that time. And then I went to grief share too at one of my old churches that I used to go to. And that was helpful too, because Jared knew, like, my husband knew I needed to have some time just set aside to process it all without a baby around.
Yeah.
So that was helpful. It was like once a week. I think it was about 8 weeks. I can't remember for sure. And then I could be with other grieving people, which might sound sad, but it's also like comforting at the same time, because then you're with all these people that are also have lost someone and are grieving. So
get it.
Yeah, that get it and aren't just like, what's the matter with you? I mean, I don't think I was getting lots of what's the matter with yous from people, but they just didn't understand if they hadn't lost their mom or a parent, you know.
Right.
It's just harder to understand, I think, if you haven't been there already.
For sure. For sure.
So it's like, these are my people.
Yeah. You can connect to on a deeper level.
Right.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So what did your relationship with God look like during that time in your life? Did it grow? What did that look like?
I think it had its ups and downs, because, you know, there'd be times where I just go through, I did go through, I think, all the stages of grief, where I'd just one day feel really sad, or another day, or even within the same day, you know, feel sad and then feel really angry, like, God, why did you take my mom away when I was so young? You know, like, I could have had all this time with her still. You know, I was only 33 when she passed away, and she didn't even get to really know my son at all. She saw that he was born, but, you know, so I'd be crying out to God about that, and like any future kids that I'm going to have, like, she's not going to be able to be there for that. And so that was definitely, it still can be a struggle sometimes, you know, these special moments, birthday parties and Christmas and all these different things where it's like, like, sadly my mom can't be here for that. And I know my mom, she'd be posting on Facebook, she'd be putting all this, my son turned 6, or my grandson just turned 6, and reposting some of my posts, or just putting her own thing about it, and just celebrating all those special moments. And then Haley being born, and like, you know, I have another granddaughter, and just all the excitement there. So it's just, that part's still hard to this day, that, you know, she can't be there for that. But yeah, kind of circling back around, you know, there's definitely a lot of different stages you go through when you're grieving. Sometimes you might even feel, I don't know if happy is the right word, but like at peace. But then other days, you're gonna be angry, or you're gonna deny it. Like I've talked about the denial. That's definitely a phase, or that's definitely one of the grief stages. That's the word I was looking for. That you can go through, where you say, you know, I think, you know, did this really happen? Or you might say that it happened, but you're just still like denying it to some extent, you know? Or you just don't want to deal with it. Because, there was someone in my grief share group that said, I'm finally here. I've just been not wanting to deal with it for until now, kind of thing. Because it takes courage to deal with it, you know? Because it's messy. Grief can be super messy. I don't think there's anything about grief that's, you know, it's very clear cut. So it just, going through all those stages, and the fact that you can go through all those stages maybe in one day is, I don't know if it was completely a new thing to me, but it was definitely more like prevalent in my life after my mom passed away. So, yes, sometimes I'd feel closer to the Lord, and other times I'd feel angry at him, or just like, okay, God, I don't really want to think about this right now. You know? So I know that's something you said you still struggle with. How do you work through that, or what does that look like for you? Sometimes I do little things like to make me remember my mom, or like do something maybe in honor of my mom that I know she would have liked. My son Will likes to do art projects sometimes, so sometimes I'll think of her while he's working on a little art project. I'm like, oh, she would have loved this, and like, you know, just putting it up on the fridge or something.
Yeah.
Just these little things that I can still do in memory of her. And it could just be a smaller thing, like, oh, I'm going to treat myself to Starbucks, or something that I know she and I would have done together, kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
So just those little things that I can sometimes do. And now with it being at Christmas time, you know, watching some movies that she and I used to watch together at Christmas time, or listening to like some old Amy Grant Christmas music or something that I know we would listen to growing up. Just different ways that I know I can, you know, honor her that way, and just let her memory live on that way can be helpful. And yeah, even with my daughter, I think there's been some things where I'm like, oh, that reminds me, like, she looks a little like my mom too. And so I think that's special to have that part too, that she actually like has a little resemblance of my mom.
For sure.
So it's like a little piece of my mom still here in that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
So how did you see God working in that season of your life?
Yeah. I mean, so kind of what I've touched on a little bit, but just how he's just, you know, met me in my grief. And he's also, another piece that I haven't brought up yet is that I had a couple of friends that also lost their parents, or a parent. And that happened, for most of my friends anyway, that happened after my mom passed away. And some of these friends I hadn't really been in touch with as much. But then when I found out like their parents passed away, or a parent, I was like, oh, well, they can understand now. They're one of my people, like I mentioned earlier. And so I'm going to start, you know, reaching out to them more and talking to them more and reconnecting, which I think is cool that God used that, like, my grief to help me reconnect with these friends, and then also be there for those friends during their, especially like the early on stages of their grief, when they, I mean, maybe they had I'm hoping they had plenty of other people to talk to about it, but maybe some of those people didn't understand because they hadn't lost a parent themselves. So it's kind of an interesting, like, okay, like, I'm kind of excited about this, that like we're reconnecting, but it's just for a really sad reason, you know?
Yeah.
But I've had several friends where we were like not as in touch, and then God used their grief and used that for us to like reconnect with each other, and help me to be there for them. So yeah, it's like, I hate to use the word excited, but about this, but like I do get a little bit of excitement as far as like the reconnecting part, and also like, oh, well, maybe I can like get to know this person better because they also lost a parent, you know? Because someone at my church, she lost her mom too, a couple years back, and so I'm like, oh, well, we have that in common. So maybe she and I can get to know each other better. And we have. So that's been cool to like spend more time with her. And then that friend and old coworker of mine who lost both of her parents, she and I have been Marco Poloing, you know, ever since that happened, I think in 2021. So, because my mom passed away in 2018. And so it's like, oh, how I've been grieving a few years now, and now how can I be here for this friend? So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's so good. Yeah, that reminds me of, what is it, 2 Corinthians 1:3, and it talks about like how the God of all comfort comforts us in our affliction, that we can essentially like go out and comfort others with the same comfort he's given us. And I feel like what you're talking about is, you know, you're stepping into, you're living that out, you know, and I think that's so powerful, just using like your place of greatest brokenness to to minister to people who need the Lord. So I think that's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's someone listening to this and they've just lost someone, what would you say to them?
So yeah, I mentioned this kind of to one of my friends who lost her dad this past summer, and I just encouraged her, like, grieve when you need to grieve, and like cry when you need to cry, and you don't need to hold it in.
Yeah.
Because I think in our culture we're kind of taught, like, oh, just toughen up, don't show so much emotion.
Yeah.
Because yes, like, we don't just wander around crying our eyes out in public usually when we're grieving. But I just encouraged her to, like, do that when she needs to do that, and like take the time to grieve. And and that can be hard too, because this is a busy world that we live in. So just like taking that time to actually grieve.
Yeah.
And just like, obviously, looking to the Lord, spending time in the Word, and also looking to scriptures that are going to be comforting to you during that time, are all helpful things for sure. And then finding your people, the people that have been there before you, that can understand and relate and be like, oh, I understand this, like, I've been there too. Everyone's going to have obviously a slightly different story, but they can still understand to an extent if they've also lost a parent. So, or it doesn't obviously it's not just a parent. It could be a friend, it could be some other relative or something that they're grieving. So.
Yeah. I think that's so good. Just talking about the community, that God's created us for community. So I think that's so important. He's created us to bear each other's burdens. And so just kind of, dropping our pride and talking about it with other people, I think can be so important.
Right.
So if there's someone listening to this who's trying to love someone well, who's lost someone, what would you say to them?
I would just encourage them to, like, sit with that person, if that's what that person needs, and just be there for them. Just show up, as in that book that Kara Tippett wrote, who she battled with breast cancer back in 2016. She wrote Just Show Up. Her and one of her friends wrote that book, and I just always remember that they would talk about just sitting with the person. You don't have to say a lot. It's not like you have to have some planned out speech when you're with that person that's grieving, but just be with them. And like, just your presence can be like a huge deal, to just be there with them. And I know that can be hard. Again, in our culture, it's like, well, what do I say? Like, this is getting awkward. Like, I feel like I might say something wrong, which I'll admit, maybe I've probably said stuff that, like, oh, maybe was not the most helpful when someone's grieving, but I've tried my best, and I let people know, like, I'm here if you need me, if you need to talk ever or meet for coffee, then, like, I'm here, So I would just say to just reach out to those people. If they feel like talking, great. If not, don't feel like you have to have some big agenda where it's like, we meet up and you have to tell me your whole story of you grieving and being sad, and like, maybe they're not up for that yet, and all they need is you just sitting with them and being there for them.
That's good. And
maybe pray for them, yes, or maybe they just need the silence that time. So
that's good. Yeah, I really feel like that points to the story of Lazarus, when Lazarus dies and Christ is sitting with his friends and he wept.
Right.
Like, I think when we just sit with people, we're not only, scripture says to mourn with those who mourn. So we're not only obeying scripture, but we're also reflecting Christ in that too. Right. So I feel like that's so good. So how does your story point to the goodness of God? So, yeah, I mean, it's just like a reminder
to me that he's always with us, no matter what we're going through in our lives, and that, yeah, he's still good no matter the circumstance. And even though, like I mentioned, I've been angry sometimes at God and not understanding why is this happening, like he still hasn't ever left. You know, he's still there no matter what. And that verse that I mentioned earlier about be still and know that I am God just has really spoken to me over the years, because it's just like, I think it's that reminder of like, I'm here, like, just be still in my presence. I'm here with you, you know, now and always. Yeah. And I remember when I was getting having the, I can't think of cyberknife radiation, when my brain tumor came back as an inch, which I didn't really talk about that part, but the first song that came on was Angels Watching Over Me by Amy Grant, because you could request music that you want played, and I said Christian music, and the very first song was that song. I was like, oh my gosh, like, so bring me to tears now. Yeah. So just how God uses those little things to just still show that he's always with us. He's good. He's never going to leave us or forsake us. And yeah, so.
He's an ever-present help. And I think
I was trying to think of that verse. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in time of trouble. That's the beginning of Psalm 46.
Yeah.
And that whole chapter is really good, but yeah, I think those couple of verses at the beginning are especially meaningful to me, and then the be still and know that I am God.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think just as we're talking about mourning and grieving, I think it can be so easy in times of grief to wonder, you know, is God distant, or is he frustrated because I'm still grieving, or does he want me to trust him, you know, and maybe he's disappointed, but scripture says, you know, that Christ is like, he's compassionate and he's gentle and he's patient and he's kind, and if we draw near to him, he will draw near to us. And so I think that's so good that you bring that up, just who Christ is, you know, as we talk about mourning and grief and health struggles and all the things, because I think that's so important.
Yeah. And kind of going back to the Lazarus story, like, he, when Jesus saw Mary grieving and weeping, like, then he was filled with compassion and started weeping as well. Yeah. And that's even though I think the part that kind of fascinates me is, like, he knew he was going to raise Lazarus from the dead. Right. And yet here he is weeping, you know, and having compassion on Mary and Martha, and all the others that were weeping there as well. I've just kind of wrestled with that a little, because it's like, okay, but Jesus knew, like, Lazarus was going to be raised from the dead pretty quick after that, but yet he took the time to be with them, to weep, and to grieve. You know, he didn't just shy away from them and be like, well, there's no reason for this because he's going to be alive soon. So like, just he was with them in the grief, and he was grieving himself with them. So
yeah, that's good. I love that. So is there a scripture, verse, or passage that God's used powerfully in your life or used to speak to you recently?
I mean, I keep going back to Psalm 46, but that's one of the main ones that I'd say for me. And the bracelet that I'm actually wearing has the verse, this is from my mom, and it's about not be strong and of good courage, it says. Be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed, for the Lord thy God is with you wherever you go. So yeah. My mom must have known I needed that verse. Yes. Because this was one of the bracelets she put in the jewelry that she gave each of us girls, this was in my packet that she gave me. So
That's so cool. Isn't that cool how God does that?
yeah.
But I love that. I love because he is with us and he's close to us, and just, be still and know that I am God. I feel like that's so powerful, because especially in our culture, when something happens, we want to worry and stress and fix the problem and all the things. And I just love how you say that, like, no, we're supposed to be still and know that he's God. And I think that's a perfect way to end the podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I love you, girl. I'm so encouraged by you. God is our refuge and strength, and ever-present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth give way and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea, though the waters roar and foam and the mountains quake with their surging. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy place where the Most High dwells. God is within her, she will not fall. God will help her at break of day. Nations are in uproar, kingdoms fall. He lifts his voice, the earth melts. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Come and see the works of the Lord, the desolations he has brought on the earth. He makes wars cease to the ends of the earth. He breaks the bow and shatters the spear. He burns the shields with fire. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress.